What if procrastination is not laziness? What if the thing we call laziness is sometimes something else entirely? What if delay is not the absence of desire, but the presence of friction? What if people are not failing to act because they do not care, but because action itself has become psychologically expensive? In this video, we will explore the possibility that procrastination is not a moral defect, but a protective response built by the brain under pressure. For a long time, procrastination has been treated like a character flaw. The story is familiar. A person has work to do, knows it matters, knows the deadline is real, and still does not begin. From the outside, it looks irrational. If the task matters, why avoid it? If the consequences are obvious, why wait? It is easy to call that laziness. It is easy to imagine a weak will, poor discipline, or a lack of seriousness. But modern psychology paints a more complex picture. Scientific research has linked procrastination less to simple idleness and more to emotion regulation. In other words, procrastination often happens not because a person does not want the outcome, but because the task produces discomfort in the present. Anxiety, self-doubt, confusion, boredom, fear of failure, fear of success, perfectionism, and even hidden resentment can all become part of the experience of beginning. When that happens, the brain is no longer choosing between action and inaction in a neutral environment. It is choosing between discomfort now and relief now. That distinction matters. One of the most important ideas in this area is that human beings are not purely rational creatures managing time like machines. We are emotional organisms managing state. We do not simply ask, what is most important? We also ask, often unconsciously, what feels safest right now? If opening the document makes you feel inadequate, if sending the email makes you feel exposed, if starting the project brings up the possibility that your best effort may not be enough, then avoidance begins to make psychological sense. Not logical sense in the long term, but emotional sense in the immediate moment. This is why procrastination can coexist with ambition. It can coexist with intelligence. It can coexist with genuine care. In fact, many chronic procrastinators are not indifferent people at all. They are people who care so much that the task becomes loaded with pressure. The assignment is no longer just an assignment. It becomes a referendum on identity. The project becomes a test of worth. The decision becomes evidence for who they are. At that point, beginning is no longer simple. It feels like stepping into judgment. A useful way to think about this is to imagine the mind as an interface, not a command center. The task in front of you is not encountered directly. It is filtered through memory, mood, stress, energy, expectation, and self-image. Two people can face the exact same piece of work and experience two completely different realities. One sees a manageable next step. The other sees a wall of uncertainty. One feels mild effort. The other feels threat. From the outside, both are just sitting there. But inside, the psychological landscape is radically different. This helps explain why procrastination is often strongest around meaningful work. People delay the things that matter most because meaningful things carry emotional weight. The email you do not care about is sometimes easy to send. The creative project that matters deeply can remain untouched for weeks. The exam that could change your future becomes harder to study for. The conversation that could reshape a relationship gets postponed. Not because the person does not care, but because they care enough for the stakes to become heavy. There is also a neurological layer to this. The brain tends to favor immediate mood repair over distant reward, especially under stress. If a task produces tension and a distraction produces relief, the nervous system learns quickly. Check the phone, feel better. Clean the desk, feel useful without risking failure. Watch one more video, escape the internal pressure. These behaviors are not random. They are short-term regulation strategies. The problem is that what relieves the present often worsens the future, and the worsened future then creates more anxiety, which makes beginning even harder the next time. So procrastination can become a loop. The task creates discomfort. Avoidance reduces discomfort. Temporary relief rewards avoidance. The deadline grows closer. The task becomes even more emotionally charged. Avoidance becomes more likely. This is why procrastination often feels less like a choice and more like a trap. People say, I do not know what is wrong with me. But often what is wrong is not a lack of values. It is a maladaptive strategy for escaping distress. The brain is solving the wrong problem. It is trying to reduce emotional pain in the short term instead of building stability in the long term. Another layer is perfectionism. Perfectionism is often mistaken for high standards, but psychologically it can function more like fear wearing elegant clothing. If only perfect performance feels acceptable, then beginning becomes dangerous. The blank page is safe because it cannot yet fail. The unfinished project still contains potential. The moment you begin, reality enters. Limits appear. The work becomes specific, imperfect, and judgeable. For some people, postponing the task is a way of postponing contact with their own limitations. This is why procrastination is not always about doing less. Sometimes it is about protecting the self from pain. That protection may be costly, but it is still protection. There is also the question of learned experience. If someone grew up in environments where mistakes were punished harshly, where performance determined love, where uncertainty led to humiliation, or where rest was labeled as weakness, then tasks in adult life may carry more than practical weight. They may activate old patterns. A deadline in the present can connect to a deeper memory structure in the past. The person is not only responding to the task, they are responding to what the task represents inside their nervous system. Seen this way, procrastination starts to resemble a warning light more than a verdict. It may signal overwhelm. It may signal unclear next steps. It may signal fear, depletion, lack of meaning, or internal conflict. It may even signal that the person's life is organized in a way that constantly exceeds their capacity. Calling all of that laziness is not just unkind, it is imprecise. If this view is true, then procrastination has major implications. It means that shame is often the wrong treatment. Shame may produce brief bursts of action through panic, but it usually deepens the long-term cycle. A person already struggling with avoidance rarely becomes freer by also being humiliated. It means that productivity is not just about discipline, but about nervous system design. Sleep, stress, clarity, emotional safety, and self-trust are not soft extras. They are part of whether action feels possible. It means that breaking tasks into smaller parts is not a childish trick. It is a way of reducing perceived threat. A giant, undefined project can trigger paralysis. A visible next step can restore movement. It means that self-compassion may be more practical than self-attack. Not because excuses are useful, but because calm increases access. A regulated mind can begin where a threatened mind stalls, and it means that what many people call laziness may sometimes be accumulated friction. Too much ambiguity, too much pressure, too much internal noise, too much hidden fear attached to a simple act. This does not mean procrastination should be romanticized. Delay can damage careers, relationships, health, and trust. But understanding a behavior is not the same as excusing it. In fact, accurate understanding is often the beginning of real change. If you think the problem is that you are broken, you will attack yourself. If the problem is that your brain has linked action with distress, then the solution changes. You begin to work with the system instead of only accusing it. That practical shift may be the most important one of all. Instead of asking, "Why am I so lazy?" the better question may be, "What makes this task feel costly to start?" Is it unclear? Is it emotionally loaded? Is it connected to fear of judgment? Is it too big? Am I exhausted? Am I trying to begin at the level of performance instead of the level of contact? Those questions do not remove responsibility. They make responsibility usable. They turn a moral accusation into a map. And perhaps that is the deeper idea here. Procrastination may not be the opposite of care. Sometimes it is care distorted by fear. It is the mind trying to protect itself with a strategy that works briefly and fails slowly. The person is not doing nothing. The person is often fighting an invisible negotiation between intention and avoidance, future value and present relief, identity and threat. So what if procrastination is not laziness? What if, in many cases, it is a signal that the brain does not feel safe, clear, or ready to engage? And what if the real solution is not simply to push harder, but to understand the hidden architecture of resistance well enough to finally move through it? Lucid Order. Question everything.